I'm very excited to introduce our first speaker this evening. Miko is a native Washingtonian with a calling for public service and the empowerment of youth through mentorship and spoken word. Her grounding and values were formed in the diverse culture of Washington, D.C., and her leadership was forged during her years as an Army non-commissioned officer. She is currently enrolled in the Georgetown Executive Masters in Leadership Program. And with that, I present Miko Collins.
I'm bleeding. Can't you see the stains? My daddy's blues are suffocating my veins. I try to refrain from this toxic strain of smoke, but these are my daddy's blues that's infiltrating my soul, that's got me spiraling down cancerous holes. I hold on to hope that one day these blues will stray, but they never do. You see, I'm a glass half full kind of girl. I gotta believe the hype. Society, trite. And daddy, he's out again, but ain't never gonna be right. I write this poetic prose for those who hold up their nose. I mean, the establishment's kind of old. How can a halfway house ever make my daddy whole? I'm choking. Can't you see my face turning blue and my daddy's blues are still sifting through? I had to be a superhero for my daddy since I was like 10, but now I'm tired of this play, make pretend I don't know. Maybe my daddy did what he did because he simply didn't have any ends, or perhaps he just got involved with the wrong group of friends. But all I know now is that the lawyer's high sedition and judge's recommendation, incarceration, drug rehabilitation, incarceration. As he pontificates, Miss Reed is for the good of mankind, well, mankind, my daddy's getting old, and maybe one day he's gonna die living in a hole, but right now, I got my daddy's soul. Gotta be his mouthpiece, gotta step in his shoes, gonna put on my suit of armor and take on my daddy's blues. These are my daddy's blues. I write for every little girl that's ever cried herself to sleep at night. Black, yellow, and white. Eyes wide shut, souls wide awake, clutching their little chests, pondering their daddy's fate. Because here's a flash of news. Drug rehabilitation is not synonymous. I'm going to say it again. Drug rehabilitation is not synonymous with incarceration. And these are my daddy's blues. These are my daddy's blues. So when I would perform that, I would wait to hear some snaps at the end or something. Well, no. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? But I would wait to hear that, or I would wait to hear the doo-doo-doo. In the poetry world, that means, okay, yeah, great job. We can move on to the next piece. But as I was told several times by my friends and family, Miko, this is not a poetry slam. This is not a poetry event. This is a speech, and you're gonna have to write a speech. So, okay. I have one confession. First of all, my name is Miko Collins. I am honored to be able to speak in front of you all on a topic once I was lost. # exceeded expectations. Thank you very much. I will tell you one thing. I figured out why it is difficult for me to write speeches, maybe because I can't say the word, but I figured out why it was kind of difficult, because writing a speech and talking to someone, for me, puts me in a state of vulnerability. I feel quite vulnerable talking to you one-on-one about my life, telling you the intricate details and everything. But when I tell my life in a poem, I feel like I'm hiding behind something. And what I have learned from these 7 months in the Executive Master's Program is that you can't hide. You have to be authentic. To be authentic, you have to be seen, and you have to show up as you are. And so here I am, showing up as I am with a speech that I am trembling on the inside, but I'm going to be tough on the outside, and I'm going to get started, okay? So once I was lost. I grew up in Washington, D.C., a few blocks from Capitol Hill, and it was a very underprivileged, impoverished, limited resources, basically forgotten neighborhood. And the funny thing is I see some looks on several people's faces, and it's like when you mention Capitol Hill and you mention underprivileged, it's so bizarre. But I'm not talking about Capitol Hill now, where you have tapas, bars, and nice rooftops and karaoke and the intermingling and commingling of cultures as such. I am talking about the late 80s, and I'm telling my age now. I'm talking about the late 80s and early 90s, right? Where crack was rampant, heroin was a big deal, and crack houses, and also used jeans. Maybe some people in this section know about it, maybe that's what. Used jeans was big back then, and I used to cut up makeup hair anyway, and hip hop was huge, and everybody wanted to be a rapper, including me. And I think my name was Miko the Magnificent or something, but don't quote me on that. So, needless to say, I did not make it as a rapper. Maybe I did one demo or something, and it didn't work out for me, so it's out the window. At any rate, I remember growing up in a 2-bedroom apartment, and it was about 6 of us. And I remember one day looking out the window, and I saw my mother. And I didn't think that she saw me. And this is maybe a little difficult because I'm looking right at my mother. But, and I didn't think, it was all clear to have this conversation, guys, just want to let you all know. But I didn't think that she saw me looking. And she was buying drugs from a drug dealer. And the look that I expected to see on her face was kind of like, whatever, I don't care, because I felt that I was forgotten anyway. But the look on her face was that of pure, oh my God, my daughter sees me doing this. To this day, I remember that look because it helped shape me. It helped shape how I thought of her. Because whatever took a hold of her, so to speak, was not something that she asked for. It's not something that at the time she could even control. And so I never, unbeknownst to you, Mom, I never held her accountable for that. I always just looked at it as this is a sickness, and clearly, you know, she wants some help with it. But I was maybe 10 or 11 at the time, so I couldn't. So, Abraham Lincoln said, if you want to predict the future, create it. All of our lives, we've been told that you cannot predict the future, right? But then Abraham Lincoln said, if you want to predict it, you got to create it. Probably say you have to create it, didn't you? Say you got to create it. But, so you have to create it. So from that moment on, from all the rides back and forth to visit my father in different prisons, from all of the times thinking that I don't know if I'm going to be a drug addict, I don't know if I'm going to be a stripper, I don't know if I'm going to be sold for prostitution for drugs, I just didn't know. And not because those things were happening, because my mother did her due diligence by giving me to my grandmother. You know, she wanted to make sure I was taken care of and I wasn't in the system. So that's why I call it a unconscious neglect. She didn't do it on purpose. She wanted me to be taken care of. But still, during that time, I had no idea what my future held. And one time that, if you all read the little blurb, if I'm going to be a Me Too movement, okay, this is where it gets a little deep, guys, all right? So just bear with me for a minute. I promise I'll lighten it back up. But 14 years old, I thought I was going to die. And I don't mean that by, I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't turn in my paper, the professor's going to kill me, I'm going to die. I mean it more so. I ended up in my friend's bathroom bleeding. And it was at that time when my grandmother came and she said, you're pregnant. She was so angry. And it was at that time that I had to tell her, it's by your son. My uncle. Okay? I had to tell her that. And she said, actually, I don't even want to put words in her mouth. I honestly cannot remember what she said. I know the look on her face was one I'd never seen before. And they rushed me to the hospital, and we were very religious, and we couldn't take blood. So I recall looking at the bedside pan at a face that was as white as the palm of my hand or whiter, hearing the doctor saying, ma'am, if you don't give her blood, she's going to die. And they said she's willing to die for this because I believed in a religion that much. I was 14 and I was like, oh my God, I wanted to be a rapper. I'm trying to die. Like, how does this happen, you know? And the irony is that did run through my mind. That's so insane. But, you know, I was 14. And so those things that happened to me, I mentioned them here, not for someone to feel so, oh no, poor her, but for people to see that the audacity of hope, for people to see resiliency. Webster's defines Google, Webster's just sound more authentic, okay? So Google defined resiliency as basically the ability to bounce back from a tough situation, the ability to keep going when bad things happen, to put it in layman's terms. And it was at that time that when I was laying on the bed and it was life and death, and I was being told that I have to choose death so that I could save my life. If there are any spiritual individuals among us, I was being told that. And I said, okay, you know, but thank you, God, for intervening. Thank you, God, that I was able to live. And thank you, God, that moment increased my thirst for life, for living, for being resilient. And I tell my daughter this all the time. And as a matter of fact, we had a conversation. I said, should I mention that about when I was 14? She's like, why not? Why wouldn't you? That's true. That's your life. And I just think that I am so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be amongst people who embody the Jesuit values, who took in a little girl who rode up and down the street and looked at this big building and said, I want to go to Georgetown. And all my friends said, you really can't afford to go to Georgetown. And I said, I sure can. And I never thought about it after that. But in the back of my mind and my heart, I knew this is where I needed to be. So I just want to tell everyone that it is gravely important to find, I'm going to use a word that's going to sound odd, find your ikigai. I'll say it again. Find your ikigai. Ikigai is the Japanese meaning for well-being, your reason for living. And I did not learn that on my own. If anyone has Professor Lovegrove, they will know that he taught it. But I invest in the book and I invest in the studies, and I just wanted to say, once you find your reason for living, once you find what you value, what is worth it to you, is it life? Is it giving back? Is it just being here? Is it going to the school that you thought of when you were 14, 30 years later? Then do it. And I hope that has met the mark of exceeding expectations. Thank you very much.
We want to open it up for questions and answers. As much as our speakers are giving to this audience, we also want to have this be interactive. So if anyone has a question for Miko, we have some mics here.
I don't make this guy.
Are you going to have your own kids?
I'm sorry. That's my father. No. I wanted that.
I have had the pleasure to serve with Miko Collins in the military, and I wanted to know what was your passion behind deciding to join the military?
That's a very good question. My passion behind that was, we only received 15 minutes to talk, so I skipped the whole chunk of life. But I was briefly homeless, sleeping on a Norfolk State University bench, and I said, man, this is not cool. Let me look up my recruiter's phone number. And it was as simple as that. I wish it was more beautiful, but it was as simple as that. And now I became a military nurse, and I'm still actually in the military. So, and I enjoy serving with you. Thank you.
Hi. Hi. You always said not to drink the punch at parties. like, just don't make it. So, can that, like, kind of interfere, like, intertwine with your speech?
Yes. Next question.
During these times that you've in your life, was there anybody there or anybody around you to motivate you to keep going?
Thank you. That is an amazing question as well, as yours too, Madison. But and I failed to mention that you can't do this alone. There were so many people along the way, so many people that said, "You can do it, Miko. You are worth it. You are better." And one was my high school teacher, School Without Walls. If she's now the principal, although she called me Tamika for 2 years, I do forgive her, but she kept telling me, keep going, keep going. So there were so many people. Even now, my entire cheerleading squad here, and I didn't plan these questions, guys. They're here and they're here supporting me. So yes, there were a lot of people and still today. And you are also one of them. So thank you.
If you could change anything in your life, would you change? We're gonna talk from like adulthood on. If you could change anything, would you change it? Because like I know you as an artist. I know you've been in the military most of your adult life, but you are truly an artist, as most people saw that when you first started speaking. But if you had the opportunity to go back, would you follow that path?
Maybe I'll do another demo tape. No. But that was a very good question. I think that I would, the only thing I would change I would change me not, this is all out of grammatical error, but I would change me not stopping, if that makes any sense, doing my poetry. Because this is the first time I performed spoke in a very long time. So that would be the only thing that I would change because truthfully, all of the pain that I had, it's such a weird dichotomy. It has made me appreciate the pleasure that I have now. So that would be the only thing that I would change.
I just have to clap again for that. That was amazing. And I'm very pleased again to introduce our second speaker, Juliet Skolden. Juliet